So in today's video, I'll be reviewing the Secret of the Mimic game flat mode. And so I recorded this on the PS5, and we're gonna go through some spoilers. I'm not gonna go through the whole game. I'm just gonna talk about things I liked and I didn't like. So let's get started with the video. Now, as of me recording this video, Secret of the Mimic is now 1 year old, which is even crazy to think about that Secret of the Mimic is this old. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to do a VR review, I'm doing just a flat mode basic review. So let's talk about some stuff I liked. This game has a lot of memorable moments. For example, the Mimic's introduction where he bursts through the wall is such a great way to introduce the Mimic, and Jackie's chase is amazing. I loved it so much. Too bad it was too short, but I really enjoyed that moment, and it's definitely memorable when I think about Secret of the Mimic. In addition, the top hat chase, while yes, a little difficult, is also very memorable for me as well. Now, how's the story of the game? Now, the story is very simple, but actually very easy to understand, which is a great thing for this franchise, because this franchise has stories that are very complicated or games that are very hard to solve that we still have not completely understand. Like for example, FNAF 4, we still completely don't understand what's going on in that game. But with Secret of the Mimic, it's a lot easier to understand, which is a good thing for the lore, because if it's easier to understand, then people can easily get into the game and understand what's going on. And so I love the Mimic as well. The Mimic is such a big threat in the game, and he's so menacing as well when he goes through costume to costume. It's honestly really great. But one thing I have a problem with the Mimic is that when you're in a room full of costumes, he could just appear in any costume, so he can just be right next to you and jump scare you. I do remember, I have this recording I'll show you, where he was very close to me. Luckily I was able to escape, but that's a problem I had with the Mimic. But other than that, it's definitely better than what we got in Security Breach, where the animatronics would just spawn behind you if you got caught by a security staff. Now, how does the game look? The game looks amazing, honestly. Like, the visuals are great, there's a lot of detail. Like I said, I played this on the PS5. It could differ from maybe someone who plays on PC with higher graphics or, you know, a better RTX card, but from the PS5 perspective, it's really good and it runs amazingly. It had no frame drops, no problems at all. Now, the basic gameplay of Secret of the Mimic is that you have to go around and you have to upgrade your data diver to get to executive to get the schematics for Fazbear's. So one thing you'll notice about Secret of the Mimic that's very different from the other FNAF games is that you have this hand mechanic, sort of like Poppy Playtime, in which you have to use your hand to unlock things, start up generators, and use it for schematics and pick up things, which is very unique. I definitely do enjoy it. A lot of people have, like I mentioned, compared it to Poppy Playtime. I think it's fine. Yes, this felt a little like they took some inspiration, but I want to have a unique FNAF game. I'm that guy that fully believes, well, yes, the Office games were great. We need to move on, because only Office games could take us so far before it gets boring and repetitive. And unlike that, Secret of the Mimic is very diverse in how the gameplay works, and a lot of the puzzles you will solve as well. Well, yes, some repeat, they actually increase in difficulty. Like, for example, the power on station. That's one of the first things you do in the beginning of the game. But later on, when you're doing the Nurse Dolly section, it gets a lot more complicated as well. You can easily escape the Mimic, which is a good thing. I appreciate that it's easier to escape the Mimic, but that's also a problem as well, because it's less of a threat because of that. Like, for example, he could be chasing you and he could see you. As soon as you get in that locker, he just forgets that you were even there, which is weird, because logically, if the Mimic sees you go into a locker, he should be able to know that you're inside that locker. But, again, a lot of the Mimic parts are really good as well. The game is just amazing. It really is. But, like I mentioned, it does have some problems that could be worked on. But overall, this game is fantastic. I love it so much. I would give it an 8 out of 10, honestly. It really is a good FNAF game, and it shows to me that Steelwool can make a good game if they, focus and not rushed or not pressured, to make the new FNAF game. Secret of the Mimic has a lot of dark moments as well. Around the whole Edwin's Manor, you can find other fast technicians that were stuffed inside costumes because of the mimic, and they failed, and they send you, Arnold, to retrieve the schematics because the others failed. And that's so cool to see, what happened to these people, and they're stuffed inside these costumes, and sort of kind of reminds me of FNAF 1 in a way, and how the FNAF 1 animatronics try to stuff you into an animatronic suit. Like I mentioned earlier, the story is very easy to understand, and that also goes for the lore as well. Very simple to understand, and the story is very tragic, but you don't really feel bad for Edwin, because he made some stupid decisions, and he made some poor choices along the way, and took a lot of easy shortcuts, which caused the mimic to go haywire. And so this game, man, it's amazing. I love it so much. I'm tired of people hating on it, because I really do enjoy this game. Well, yes, the game, like I mentioned 1,000 times, has problems, and it's good to point out those problems so they can be fixed, in the next entry. This game is amazing, and I know people are saying, well, there's no Five Nights and Five Nights at Freddy's, anymore, because it's just one night at the Edwin Murray costume manor. And I say yes, it's kind of, it doesn't make sense to call it Five Nights at Freddy's if you're spending one night there. But the atmosphere of this game, man, the enriched storytelling, just I kind of push that aside. And the same thing with a lack of Freddy's references. There's a whole section, there's Chica's party, where it's just Chica has her own level. And so sometimes I know it can be weird to stray away from the Freddy's, but honestly this game does a great representation of the series, of how the uncanny horror can bring this sort of tension, and gives you a feeling of this feels familiar, but it's not. And that's my favorite kind of horror, the uncanny horror, which is why I like the backrooms in FNAF 1 so much, because the uncanniness and the fear of the unknown, where one of those costumes has the mimic in it, you just don't know which one. And so all those elements combined help to make a great game. So I want Steelwool to keep making these games, because I love this one. And I would like to know what you guys think about this game as well, because I have heard mixed things on it, which is interesting, because it does a lot of things right. It proves a lot on security breach. And so, like I mentioned, I'm probably not going to do a VR review because I don't have a VR set, but that's just my review of the flat mode. I really enjoyed it. This game was such a blast to play through, and it honestly has some really good scares in there as well. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.